Beyond gift giving, the holiday season generates a significant amount of waste, particularly from food, decorations, and packaging. In fact, in the US alone, an estimated 25% more waste is produced between Thanksgiving and New Year's Day, and that amounts to over 1 million additional tons of waste. 1 million tons. And while gifting and family gatherings are inevitably going to lead to some amount of increased waste, it's the wasteful holiday trends that really do it. I'm talking foil wrapping papers, PVC Christmas trees, package-intensive advent calendars, and the ridiculous abundance of seasonal products hoping to cash in on our very weird obsession with all things pumpkin spice. Oh yeah, I'm going there. Hey there, festive friends. Welcome back to Sustainable Jungle. I'm Amber, and here we share sustainability tips, tricks, hacks, products, brands, and stories to better our planet. And today I'm going to turn ho 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 into low, low, low impact by making our list and checking it twice of some of the most wasteful holiday trends that have got to go, go, go. Because honestly, some holiday habits are more outdated than fruitcake. So, let's dive into some of the worst offenders, along with some much better options that you can replace them with to create more sustainable holiday traditions. But first, don't forget to hit that like button and the subscribe button down below so that you can stay in the know on all of our sustainable living content. All right, I might be about to make some enemies by saying this, but can we chill on the pumpkin spice trend? Now hear me out. I'm not saying the flavor isn't tasty, for some things anyway. I mean, pumpkin spice salmon, mac and cheese, rubber at the tire store, I can't even fathom what that even means. Clearly, things are getting really out of hand. And unfortunately, even those that are not an absolute unholy abomination still have negative consequences. The rise of pumpkin spice flavored drinks, particularly from major chains like Starbucks, often lead to a surge in the use of single-use plastic cups, lids, and straws. Though some companies do offer reusable cup incentives, the vast majority of these drinks are still being consumed in disposable containers, contributing to waste. And that's not even to speak of all the product and packaging waste associated with those awful pumpkin spice items that people are likely to maybe try out of curiosity and then throw it away when they find out it is indeed as awful as it sounds. Plus, just the seasonal hype around pumpkin spice can drive unsustainable consumer habits. Limited edition items are often associated with a buy now mentality because they're not going to be there all the time, and that can lead to overconsumption. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't companies that are trying to make pumpkin spice products more sustainably, like using organic ingredients or eco-friendly packaging. And if you really need that pumpkin spice fix, be sure to support these companies. And if you're going to a coffee shop, be sure to bring your own mug so you don't have to deal with all of that plastic disposable cup waste. Next up, I want to talk about over-the-top decorations. Now, it's November, which means we've already been seeing Christmas decorations in stores for at least a month. Seriously, when did we start selling Christmas decor before Halloween? And despite decorations having longevity to use again and again, we somehow still feel compelled to buy new ones each year. And I'll admit, those cute Target displays are really tempting. But the problem with modern holiday decor is that it's starting to take on characteristics of fast fashion. So rather than break out the same ornaments and nativity scenes and Santa figurines year after year as my family did when I was growing up, nowadays there's more and more trending decorations that aren't designed with the timeless holiday spirit in mind. You know, the ones that play on some kind of pop culture that might seem funny or cute now, but will pretty much make zero sense next Christmas once the trend is gone, and it's gonna find itself relegated to a box in the attic. Disposable advent calendars are another thing that's been on the rise. Now, advent calendars in general have been around for ages, but now they're super trendy and they come in every size, shape, and theme you can imagine. Football teams, Pokemon, Harry Potter, The Office, even something more frightful than festive like Five Nights at Freddy's. But they all share one thing in common, and that's typically a lot of single-use plastic waste hiding behind those adorable little cardboard doors. Or how about those giant inflatable lawn Santas that are literally taller than my house? Sure, they're fun, or at least they're kind of fun to make fun of when you're driving past your neighbor's house who has way too many of them. But the problem is that most of these are going to be made from PVC, which is one of the least eco-friendly plastics. And when they pop, they're not getting recycled. So instead, we should opt for natural and, dare I say, tasteful decorations. So think popcorn garland or wreaths made of foraged greenery, pine cones, and cinnamon sticks. These sort of things smell great, look amazing, and they can all completely compost back into the earth when you're done with them. I'm gonna link to some of my favorite DIY Christmas decor guides in the description below to give you some ideas. But if those fail, Pinterest is always a really great resource for some DIY inspiration. And now let's tackle the big one: gift overload. Did you know that Americans spend over $15.2 billion on unwanted gifts every year. That number comes from a survey that looked at 2,000 American adults and found that the average person received at least one unwanted gift during the holiday season, with each gift costing approximately $50. Add up everyone in the US, and that's nearly $16 billion. Of these unwanted gifts, 46% of people reported clothing and accessories as being unwanted. So maybe that's something to consider when you're shopping for gifts this year. Now, I'm not saying that gifting on the whole is a trend that has to go. Now, personally, we don't exchange gifts in our household. That's just how we've always done things, and it works for us. But if gifting is an important part of your holiday tradition, as I totally get that it is for most people, I'm just saying that we should be a little bit more mindful about how we do it. Like, can we be done with gag gifts? Sure, they're good for a grand total of a 2-minute laugh, and then they get relegated to storage or the dumpster. If you want to make someone laugh, work on your jokes instead, because gag gifts are just not worth the cost or clutter that they cause, either in your giftie's house or the landfill that they'll most likely end up in sooner or later. And let's also stop buying obligatory gifts just because we feel like we have to gift something. These are often people that we're not really that close to anyway, unless we don't really know what sort of things they even like, so we're probably not giving them anything that's useful or that they'll ever really enjoy. Consider taking people like this out on a lunch date, or even just buying them a coffee or something that says that you thought of them without feeling like you have to buy them something. And of course, there's rarely gifts without wrapping paper. But did you know that 4.6 million pounds of wrapping paper gets produced every year, 2.3 million of which is then sent to the landfill in the US alone? That's enough to gift wrap the entire earth a few times over. And unfortunately, there's really not that many better end-of-life outcomes for wrapping paper because the vast majority of those on the market aren't even recyclable. I'm talking about the ones with foil or glitter or velvet or some other fancy coating. These may add a little bit of shimmer beneath the tree, but it's dulling down the planet by rendering the paper beneath it unfit for recycling facilities. So how do you know what wrapping paper can and can't be recycled? Is there a way to tell? In fact, there is, and it's called the scrunch test. So you can take a piece of wrapping paper and give it a gentle scrunch. I have a basic craft paper here. I scrunch it, and it holds its shape in a compact little ball. You know that it's recyclable. However, you do the same thing with other wrapping paper, and it immediately unfoils. That means it's likely coated with something or it contains some other sort of non-paper elements, so best to skip the recycling bin and redirect it toward a new destiny instead. But keep in mind that that's kind of just a loose rule of thumb, so when in doubt, unless you know it's just simple plain paper, don't risk contaminating your local recycling center, because the only thing that's worse than throwing away wrapping paper is improperly recycling it, and in doing so, ruining a bunch of other recyclables in the batch. The best thing that you can do to recycle wrapping paper is to recycle paper yourself. So instead of just ripping the paper when you open something, try to cut the tape neatly so that you can fold it up and reuse it to wrap gifts next year. That's actually what this piece of wrapping paper is from. I've used it for the past few years with gifts that I give to my mom. Or you can even peel the tape off, which is actually pretty easy to do with foil papers. I actually have these really fond memories of Christmases growing up where my grandpa would break out his tiny little Swiss Army knife and meticulously cut the tape on the wrapping paper, and we all used to make fun of him for it. And now, well, I've become just like him. So if you're prepared to deal with a little bit of good-natured ridicule from your family, this is a really great option because wrapping papers are actually super durable for the most part, and they can see a holiday season through multiple times before they might get a little bit too worn to look nice anymore. My grandma is actually still using some of the original wrapping paper and gift bags that I remember her using when I was a kid. Otherwise, make the switch to zero waste gift wrappings. I personally love using brown, plain craft paper just like this. A, because we get a ton of it in packages these days. I mean, every Amazon box is at least twice the size of the goods that you ordered, and then it's filled the rest of the way just with craft paper. So I actually save all of this stuff, mostly to use in packaging orders for my small Etsy business, but also for things like gift wrap. And if it's too plain for you, the best thing about it is that you can decorate it any way you want. You can draw or doodle on it with a Sharpie or pencil, or just add some natural embellishments like little pieces of pine bough, dried citrus wheels, or even just maybe a natural hemp string bow. And then there is fabric gift wrap, which you can reuse over and over and over again. Now, this is based on the Japanese craft called furoshiki, and there are a ton of different origami-esque techniques for it out there, and it's actually not that hard. As someone who tried and failed at origami multiple times, I can tell you that it's much easier than that. The easiest way to do it is to just tie the corners. So you're just going to take the opposite corners and tie them into a simple double overhand knot. This method generally works better if you have a box that's more appropriately sized for their fabric. As you can see, this box is a little bit small, so I've got all of this little extra space here, but even that's really not a big deal. You can also wrap it a little bit more like the traditional wrapping method you might be used to, where you fully wrap all the sides, tuck it around, take the side that has the open end, tuck up your ends, and then tie them like this. So, as I mentioned, there's a ton of different methods that you can use to wrap gifts this way, and again, the internet is a great resource if you want tutorials and all different ideas on how to do it. I like this option because for me, being a fiber artist, it means I have plenty of fabric scraps always lying around, but I also really like it because it's a great way to upcycle old clothes like t-shirts. Okay, the gifts are sustainably wrapped. Now let's talk about what you're going to put them under, and that's the Christmas tree. According to 2023 polling data from the American Christmas Tree Association, yes, apparently there is a whole association for Christmas trees. Who knew? But they say that nearly 77% of those displaying a Christmas tree plan to use an artificial tree. Now, a 6.5-foot artificial tree can produce around 40 kilograms of greenhouse gas emissions. The majority of that comes from the manufacturing, and most fake Christmas trees are not just made from plastic, but they're made from polyvinyl chloride, or PVC, which, if you'll remember from just a little while back, I said is the worst type of plastic. It's super toxic, and it's really, really difficult to recycle, so Christmas trees are pretty much never recycled. So does this mean that natural Christmas trees are automatically better? Not necessarily, especially if they're going to be unsustainably cut down from an area where you shouldn't. If you are going with real, you should buy from a tree farm, and ideally one that has a sustainable forestry certification like the FSC. Of the 350 to 500 million estimated trees on US tree farms, only 30 million of them are going to be harvested each year. So if you opt for those rather than going out and risking damaging local biodiversity by cutting one down where you shouldn't, you are making a positive environmental step. Or better yet, you can opt for an even more sustainable Christmas tree alternative, like decorating a large houseplant or getting a reusable tree made of wood. There's some really gorgeous minimalist options out there on Etsy these days, like those by Welcome to the Woodshop, and I'm going to link to a list of them in the description below. Or you can just go vintage. So what I set up is this tree right here, which used to belong to my grandma. It's ceramic. She has been setting this up as long as I can remember, so at least 30 years. And she recently gifted it to me because I don't really have space to put up a tree in my tiny house. So now I get to use this thing, which not only has fond memories for me as a kid, but also is something durable, vintage, that I can reuse year after year after year. If you really like the smell and the vibes of a live Christmas tree, you can even rent a tree from companies like Rent a Christmas and Easy Treezy. Bonus points for the name on that one. Or you can get a potted living Christmas tree of your own, which can then be planted in your garden or outside somewhere after the holiday season ends. And after that point, they will continue to sequester carbon from the atmosphere and clean the air. So it's kind of a win-win. Next on the naughty list is fast fashion. We all love a good holiday outfit, but here's the thing. The fast fashion industry contributes to 10% of global carbon emissions. And those seasonal outfits and ugly reindeer knits that you bought for your company's ugly Christmas sweater party, well, most of those are going to get worn once, maybe twice, and then end up in either the back of your closet or worse, the landfill. Now, do you really need a new ugly sweater every year? Spoiler. No. Instead, why not swap with friends, thrift one? If you've ever been to a thrift store, there are all kinds of ugly sweaters there. So take your pick. Or you can even DIY an old sweater into something festive by maybe embroidering a crude Rudolph or a Santa hat on them. You'll be saving money and the planet, which is the best gift of all, right? Let's talk lights. I know, holiday lights are magical, but here's a not so magical stat. In the US alone, holiday lights contribute to 6.6 billion kilowatt hours of electricity consumption every year. Now, for perspective, that's enough to power 800,000 homes for an entire month. And that's even more than some entire developing countries like El Salvador, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Cambodia, and Nepal will burn in an entire year. Now, I'm gonna be straight with you. I love the soft glow of some white twinkle lights to give my house a warm glow on a cold winter's evening. I love it as much as the next person, but let's just keep that energy consumption in mind. Maybe we don't need to turn our entire house into the Las Vegas Strip every holiday season, especially when you consider how a single burnt out bulb that you can't find anywhere on the string, despite the fact that you've checked every single one twice, somehow renders the entire string useless and means you have to replace them. And when you do need to replace your string lights, consider LED or even solar-powered alternatives. They last longer and they can use up to 75% less energy. And lastly, we've got food waste. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos here on our channel on food waste uses and preserving food, you'll know how much I hate food waste. And this is one area of sustainability that I'm just extra passionate about. Now, the holidays are all about feasting. We love it. We love food. We love treats. It's great. But the problem is that the average household wastes about 25% of its food during the holiday season. Now, that is 25% too much. And it's not only the wasted food, but the wasted water, energy, and resources that were used to grow, transport, and prepare it. So instead of going overboard this holiday season, plan your meals and only cook what you need. If you do end up with some leftovers, get creative with them. You can turn the old turkey carcass that still has little bits on it that nobody wants to chew off anymore, put it in some water, boil it, and turn it into soup. Turn old soggy veggies into frittatas. There's endless things that you can do. And if you do end up with extras of things that aren't necessarily cooked, you can always donate them to your local food bank to ensure those that maybe are a little bit down on their luck can also have a bountiful holiday feast. So, there you have it, holiday trends that need to go. But with fun, sustainable alternatives to keep the festive vibes alive, you know? Because the holidays don't have to be wasteful to still be wonderful. So let's make this year's celebration just a little bit lighter on the planet, but still full of all of that magic that we love. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and if you're ready to ditch the waste and spread some sustainable cheer, please give this video a like, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and let us know in the comments your favorite eco-friendly holiday hack. Any trends that you're going to actively be avoiding this year, and what are you going to do instead? Until next time, this is Amber from SJ, wishing you a happy, sustainable start to the holiday season.